It's been months and months since I've done one of these. Today I'm reviewing Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. My cat's probably about to enter the frame, actually. Here she comes. Right, I'm reviewing Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. As an avid book reader, it is startling to me that I had not read this book before, that I had brushed it off. Something I'll say is that I am currently pursuing my bachelor's in English, which is a degree that I've been meaning to finish for a long time. What my experience in higher education is teaching me is that I should not be dismissive of the classics, that even if they don't feel immediate to me, they are at the very least teachable for the most part. Like, not all of them. I had to read like a Joseph Conrad book earlier this year and I fucking hated it. I was not able to make it through it. But this book, Frankenstein, where I was sort of caught off guard in reading Frankenstein is in how much it moved me. It actually made me cry. It wasn't just like a tearful read, like it truly like welled up something from deep inside of me. And that's something I think was a deep empathy that I find is not really roused by a lot of contemporary fiction that I read. I think that I think that disaffectedness is a fad in contemporary literature. I think that we are in a cultural moment where we enjoy being disturbed, but not so much moved. I was just like really taken with Mary Shelley's ability to write in a way where I felt like she had complete spiritual access to me. This book has been adapted into tons and tons and tons of movies. The lore of Frankenstein is really generative still. Obviously Frankenstein, the movie, the Guillermo del Toro movie, has just come out. Even that was I wouldn't say a perversion of the story. Even that was kind of, the action of the story is expanded, I think, for entertainment purposes. That's like not so much what you get in this story. It's not even really indicated in the book how Dr. Frankenstein manages to, revive or imbue with life his monster. I truly feel that this is not a book about aesthetics, and I think that the movies that have been made out of appreciation, what I think is like an ultimate appreciation for this novel, those movies are about aesthetics, and I find that the book itself is about love, fear, and almost can't even with a clear conscience call it a horror novel. The supposed monster in this book is not a figure which inspires any measure of horror or disgust in me. In that respect, I think that Guillermo del Toro's adaptation was true to the spirit of the original work. Everything that the monster does in this book is deeply informed by empathy. The empathy that he himself is not met with, but that he knows he's owed as a creature capable of compassion and of pain. I want to say that this book is closer to a folktale than it is a horror novel, in terms of just like there's such a transparency between, I felt such a transparency between myself and the characters in this book. Like the characters in this book feel, they have this universal quality to them. After I read this, I posted on my Instagram just an a video of me crying like right after I had finished the book, and I had said that like it touched me so much because it feels not only like a portrayal of innocence, I'm referring to the monster, but also an homage to innocence and an homage to the innocent state that so many of us live in. I would almost venture to say that sort of like radical innocence that all of us live in as products of our environment. I think, you know, one thing that the characters in this book are not granted is grace. And for a book that has like an interpolated sort of biblical tale, you know, like the sort of, there's like a fall from grace that is beaming throughout this book. I ended up writing a paper on this book for one of my classes, and there's a lot of really sort of out there theories about dynamics between the monster and Dr. Frankenstein, and how they are a reflection of each other, how they are almost fragments of the same self. So while this book is deeply emotional, that mental coherence between monster and monster and creator is there. Just talking about it right now, I'm just like even noticing like how elaborate this book is. I think there's a reason that it resonates and has resonated across time. That there is I think there's a reason that it's such an embraced piece of literature. I have a little bit of an aversion to contextualizing works within an author's life circumstances. I think that it leads to cheap understandings of their work. But I can't help but mention that Mary Shelley was so young when she wrote this, like 16 or 17. I don't know. I've kind of seen inconsistent information about that. This is such a crude way to put this, but just like the emotional girth of this novel, and also its expansiveness when it comes to a narrative about creation. This is it evokes the biblical creation story. It evokes it evokes the creation frenzy of science. And I think it has so much to say about the development of the human soul. You would be remiss to not read this work. I wish it had been assigned to me in high school, although I have a feeling this book registers on a deeper and deeper level the more loss that you've experienced. But I'm gonna have to take some time away from it because I read it once when I was initially assigned this book, and then I read it again when I wrote my paper, and it's just strikes an uncomfortable chord in the best way possible. Feel like I really needed to be re-exposed to the experience of crying while reading. As a writer, I consider myself not especially out of touch with the sort of cultural pulse of contemporary literature. I see so much cerebral work that borders on fetishistic, and some of that kind of work is like my favorite ever, but it's just nice to be moved to tears every now and then. Okay, I hope everyone has a good holiday, and hopefully I'll be back on here sooner rather than later.